as CM Punk goes into business for himself in a shoot promo, shooting on the Hangman Adam Page, calling him out. Of course, Hangman not prepared to go out to the ring. And if you watch BTE, you know Hangman is always gear ready. Always in gear, full gear, ready to go. But he was not ready to walk out to the ring, as that was unscripted, not part of the plans. Then Punk proceeded to call Hangman a coward for not coming out and accepting his challenge that wasn't in the script. Now, there's two ways to look at this. But before I get into those details, let's take a look at this clip here from Bryan Alvarez, where he kind of goes over the meat and potatoes of this, and then we got a little bit more on the other side for you.
The AEW Dynamite show opened up with CM Punk coming out, and he decided he was going to cut a promo on Hangman Page. And it was not a planned comment. It was not part of any storyline. It was CM Punk demanding an apology from Hangman Page. Of course, this was not in the script, so Hangman didn't come out. And then Punk just stands up and he calls him a coward. So this is all, it has nothing to do with storyline, it has nothing to do with anything, and he went into business for himself, and, you know, he made Hangman look, I mean, the Hangman's supposed to be the baby face here, and he made your baby face look like a coward. So anyway, believe me, there were plenty of people backstage furious at CM Punk.
That was Bryan Alvarez of the Wrestling Observer and Figure 4 Online giving us the breakdown, the little scoopski as it sits. We've learned that Punk has been verbally expressing his dislike for certain things backstage. And somewhere, somebody commented to Fightful. And of course, this becomes gospel and fact that Punk was so upset, so disproving of everything in AEW that they were surprised that he didn't just walk out or quit or not return. Says some guy backstage, the janitor perhaps, who knows. Booker T had his thoughts on this. Everybody had their thoughts on this. I'm frankly the last one on planet Earth to be giving my thoughts on video here. But Booker T had his thoughts on it from a perspective of working with CM Punk, being in a locker room with CM Punk. And as we know, Booker T has not always been the biggest supporter of CM Punk or AEW. Check out what Booker had to say.
I haven't heard Punk say this, but he was threatening not showing up. Some people are saying he was levying threats about leaving AEW. I mean, these are actual reports.
Look, I'm not surprised, man. I'm not surprised. I mean, I've been in the locker room with him. You know, you talk about backstage. We're going to see how this thing play out at the end of the day. But the one person who's going to have to really take the reins in this situation is Tony Khan. You know, seriously, it's Tony Khan, because this gives a certain perception as far as there again, certain guys coming in, certain treatment, and certain guys that's been there in certain treatment, and that's what a riff going to come at, just like it did with WCW.
So Booker T, who has worked with the man side by side, I believe he even worked with him. He did that backstage. WWE backstage, the Fox thing, the Fox gimmick where they had CM Punk returned there briefly with Renee Paquette. They did the little talk show gimmick. That was Booker T worked with Punk there too, and Punk has a bit of a reputation in the business. Now, here's the deal. I'm of the opinion that this could be two things. And we'll cover the first thing and then we'll go into the second thing. It's either Punk is a huge egomaniac that needs to be taken out by the knees, or this is a giant work. It's a work, people. It could be a work. Everything's a work, right? It's a goddamn work. But okay, so let's play this out. Let's see. So CM Punk has a bit of a reputation in the wrestling business for being kind of a dick, right? And kind of opinionated and bitchy and complainy and willing to take his ball and go home if things don't go his way. Now, coming from Ring of Honor, he cried when he left Ring of Honor. He cried in the ring and said, he didn't want to leave. It was the best job he ever had. He was happy there. He was doing a lot of the backstage stuff. He was training guys, all of that. He was a big part of Ring of Honor at the time that he left. So when he got to the WWE and then we started hearing these things about Punk, this is what built Punk's mega stardom. This is what built the fandom of maniacs that surround CM Punk. And look, I'm at the top of that list, man. Sign me up. I am a Punk mark. I am a marky mark of CM Punk. He's my guy. I went to Chicago for the first dance. That I like to bring that up a lot because I was there and it was just the greatest wrestling moment of my entire life. It probably would have been had I just seen it on TV, because I didn't think we'd see CM Punk come back, at least not in that capacity, right? And then I even went out of my way. They sell it's for pre-sale, but they got an action figure of CM Punk from the first dance. It's a Ringside Collectibles exclusive. Just boosting my chair. My chair's low today. It's a low rider. I'm like sitting down, I'm barely eye level with the camera. Okay, so anyway. So I'm a huge CM Punk mark. I spent like too much on that action figure, but I had to have it because it came with a little ice cream bar. And Punk was my hero because I've always been anti-authority. I've always been pro-freedom. Don't tell me what the fuck to do. It's very simple. I'm very much that punk rock energy, that rebellious, that mindset. And Punk was my hero for that because Punk stood against the system. He raged against the machine, if you will, right? He was the guy that was outspoken against the bullshit that we all knew was going on in WWE. And for that, there were people within WWE or around Punk. Booker T was one, like he said, he wasn't surprised. He's been around the guy. There's a lot of people that just think he's a self-righteous dick, an opinionated fuck, an asshole, a complainer. But I think most of us saw it, especially, and that's why I brought up the Ring of Honor, how he cried that he left and he loved that job, is that Punk hadn't really shown that he's just a douchebag as much as he's shown that he is a rebel against the system. Right? He was there to be a thorn in the side of Vince McMahon until there was change. There's that famous promo, not the pipe bomb, that was obviously one of the most famous promos in history, which led to a lot of this, but even the one that he did with McMahon in the ring where he had this list of demands, and that's where the ice cream bar came from and that kind of stuff. The apologize. All of this came across, even though there were people backstage that put it on Punk as just being a douche, there was, for the most part, this was recognized as being a rebel against the system. He's fighting the machine, and that he stood his ground, and that when he walked out of the WWE, it was for a cause. It was in protest. It was the rebelliousness, right? It was fuck you for a reason. It wasn't just fuck you to fuck you. You know what I mean? He wasn't being a selfish dick. He was proving a point. I'm going to walk away from this because you guys are all fucked. And we all supported Punk for that. There was people that didn't, but for the most part, the general consensus was that Punk was the anti-hero that we all loved, And we missed him when he was gone. And then over the course of the 7 years he was gone, the internet went insane. And then, now everybody's got a contrarian opinion, But Punk was gone. He was not coming back until AEW came around and they started courting Punk. And even then, he had to kind of see how the things went with AEW and hear what people were saying backstage. And when he came in, he was happy as all fuck. And he always says it in every interview. I'm just happy. I'm happy. I'm happy here. This is what wrestling's supposed to be. This is what we needed. And, everything's all flowers over in AEW. And now all of a sudden we're hearing otherwise, right? Now we're starting to hear that Punk's becoming a squeaky wheel again backstage. Now, where is all this coming from? Is it now... there's a couple ways you can look at this. Like I said, number one is that Punk's just a douchebag, and we're starting to see what other wrestlers are even saying, what a Booker T said, and others have said it as well, that Punk's a bit of an egomaniac, and he's selfish, and he's just a smug douche, and that, when things don't go his way or something that he doesn't like, he's, quick to complain or bitch out loud or make an ass out of himself or make a big scene or just flat out take his ball and go home and be vocal and bitchy about it. In WWE, when we knew that machine was a crooked machine, we all knew Vince McMahon. We all knew how he did business. And that's why we kind of took Punk's side for the most part. I don't say we as in everybody. I'm sure there's people watching that always thought he was a douchebag. But for the most part, everybody's like, yeah, get him, Punk. But now that we're starting to see it, we're starting to see it again. Is it WWE? Is it AEW? Or is it that Punk's just a fuckface, right? Is Punk just being a smug prick fuck here? Or is there something wrong with the structure of AEW that's causing him to complain? Now, Hangman Page brought this up in his promo. He's saving the locker room from CM Punk. What was going on there? I questioned that when I watched that promo. I was like, where is that coming from? This was a while ago now. So why is Punk just now all of a sudden trying to get his receipt? Why wouldn't he have gotten his receipt the next week on, when he did his next promo on Hangman? Or right then and there, I think that was a face-to-face promo. Or in the ring, why didn't he just punch him extra hard? Give him a couple potatoes to show him what's up, you know what I mean? Talking shit about me, huh? Pa! But overall, why did Punk hang on to this for a couple months and it's just all of a sudden randomly coming out? And why is it coming out this way? Is Punk that goddamn unprofessional that he's going to just take the time on the microphone to throw out a challenge to one of the company's biggest baby faces, then call him a coward for not coming out when the dude wasn't even scripted to come out, and just completely bury the guy and go into business for himself? Did that actually happen? If that did, Punk is a goddamn cancer. Flat out. If that's a real thing that happened, and this isn't to work in any way, shape, or form, it's not part of any greater plan, then Punk is an absolute douchebag. And he had us all fooled, or at least had me fooled. I'll put my name up there because I am a huge Punk mark. And it's because he's that rebel. He's that guy who puts his foot down against the machine when others won't. He's the guy fighting for the ice cream bars. And in the voice of the voiceless, right? He had a whole gimmick around it. I liked that about Punk. That's why he's my guy. But if he's just the guy that's going to complain about everything backstage and threaten to quit and stuff, and he's going to be tearing everybody apart, then he needs to get checked right away if this is true, if this is real. Tony Khan needs to put his foot down like he's never put his fucking foot down before. And I don't care if it's CM Punk. And I don't care who hears it or who knows it. I would chew his ass. Maybe in private, you take him, into a meeting. Maybe you don't yell at the guy, but you need to make it clear in no uncertain terms that this will never be tolerated again, and that you're probably going to take the title away from the guy and make him, matter of fact, I would make him drop it to fucking Hangman Page to prove a point, But that's just me, and that's just if this is real, because you can't have that in your locker room. Punk is a veteran. Punk is somebody that people look up to. And if he's going to be starting to stir the shit, and he's going to be starting to, make Tony look bad and walk all over Tony and go into business for himself, he's going to make that okay for other people to do as well. So that's a huge problem. Also, you just don't do that. Where is your respect for your other wrestlers, your locker room, your boss, your promotion? When you go into business like that for yourself, you have no respect for anybody else around you. It is all about me, 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 me. Right? You're not respecting Hangman, and even if you don't like Hangman, you have to respect that this dude has a career, that he's one of the company's top baby faces, and you need to respect your company that you're working for and your TV time, that this wasn't what was planned. And if you want to throw in a little sly remark, because Hangman did go out recently online and say he doesn't really listen to veterans because he doesn't have to. That's a heel-ass fucking thing to say, and that would get under the skin of many veterans. You always listen. You always listen. What the fuck is your problem? Even if you don't take it to heart, you give them the respect that they deserve for paving the path that you're fucking walking on, douchebag. So there's that, too. And maybe that's what refreshed all of this and set Punk off and why he chose now to go off. But if you want to address that, do it either backstage or even on Twitter if you want to get, reply to that comment, retweet that comment, and you can do it there. Or if you really need to do it in a promo, throw out a little jab, throw out a little sly remark, address, nobody listens to the veterans anymore, right, Hangman? A little something like that to clap back, fine. When you call the babyface out for a rematch for the title right here and now, and then call him a coward because he doesn't come out and none of it was scripted, you're a douchebag. And if you're anybody but lower than Punk, if you're not a main event level talent, you probably get fired for that. And Punk, I wouldn't fire the guy, but I would make an example of him right quick. And then if he wants to quit and if he wants to leave, take his ball and go home, fine. Because we don't need that bullshit cancer around anyway. We will figure out another way to be a mainstream level company with mainstream level stars and reach the mainstream level fan base without CM Punk's drama and bullshit backstage. And you have to make that example. You cannot sacrifice your whole entire locker room for the sake of one guy, even if it is CM Punk. Even if he is, even if you're a big fanboy of him like I am, and you're just marking out to have him there, you got to look around. You got a whole other locker room that works for you. You don't cater it to one guy. You cater it to the team. You keep, Tony Khan's always been, and this is something that's been said about him multiple times, that because he comes from that sports background, that he treats AEW like a sports brand and he treats his talent like a team. Not like a roster of fucking wrestlers and independent talents, but they're a team. They're all a team together. And if somebody's not playing for the team and they're playing for themselves, they need to be cut no matter who it is. So he needs to either, be put in check, calm the fuck down and set straight right quick if he's going to stick around, or he needs to be shown the door. And that's just the facts if this is true. Even if Hangman did, if the rumors are true, Hangman did arguably go into business for himself, in his promo with Punk when they were feuding. And then, just his tweet about not listening to the veterans. All that shit's kind of douchey. But I think, if all of this is to be taken as truth, then Punk went about this in the biggest, dumbest, douchebaggiest way possible. And at this point, when you're making millions and millions and millions of dollars every year to work 2 days a week, if that, and you're doing what you loved or what you claim that you loved anyway growing up, and it certainly, has the freedom that WWE didn't. You can create your own storylines. You can dictate your own path to a certain extent. There's no reason to be mad about anything. What are you so pissed off about? What's your fucking problem, bro? Why is there any drama backstage in AEW? And we're hearing about all this shit. And Tony's rectified the situation. We'll get into it a little bit later. He's put some new people in place to help him out with some key roles backstage. But just to kind of put a bow on the Punk thing, if it's a shoot, then Punk's an absolute piece of shit for this. And it's way the wrong thing to be doing, a horrible example. And I just can't imagine a guy at his age has that small of a penis ego problem that he needs to flex like that. You know, when he's in a veteran position, he's 40 years old, 40 some years old. Like, get over yourself, bro. It's time to stop. And he even, you know, he said all the right things when he came in. You know, he's happy there. It's a team. He's there to help out the young guys. You know, it's not about him anymore. He wants to, and you know, led by example by working with a lot of the young guys and helping build a lot of them up and giving them matches with CM Punk and putting some guys over, even MJF. Like, Punk's been very selfless so far. Now all of a sudden he's selfish Punk monster, which leads me to my second theory here, and that all of this is a giant fucking work. Now, I've been on record as saying that the MJF thing is a huge work. I'm sure it started as a shoot. I'm sure MJF had his problems, and I'm sure that he voiced them to Tony, and it probably even got heated. But, you know, there was word that right before MJF left, there was a meeting between MJF and Tony, and then MJF, you know, cut his pipe bomb promo and then disappeared off of TV. I think all of that was part of the plan. Yeah, I don't think Tony has control over what goes out on TV. He can shut off a microphone, just like CM Punk's pipe bomb promo, or like they did at the end of MJF's when he called Tony a fucking mark, you know, like that one was obvious. Like Tony could have cut MJF's mic a long time ago, so it's obvious. And then Punk came down to be like, "What's going on, bro? What are you doing?" And MJF hopped the rail. All that, it's clearly a work. And now we're hearing rumors that MJF is coming back. So when everybody's complaining about the bullshit booking of you know, you see online, it's funny, everybody's playing right into it. Why are they wasting CM Punk and John Moxley on live TV? You know, what the fuck are they doing? They got all around, right around the corner. Because MJF's coming back. That's why. Because MJF is going to come back and he's going to feud with CM Punk, renew their little feud ski, and he's going to take back he's going to take the title from Punk. He's going to get his win back. He's going to take the title, and it's going to happen at All Out. And they can't do it after All Out because now you got 3 months before the next pay-per-view, and you don't give MJF the title on Dynamite, you give it to him on a pay-per-view. So that's what they're doing, and I'll grant you, Punk versus Moxley is a giant match and is pay-per-view level. You know, so you could definitely make the argument to do that at All Out and then do MJF and Punk, but you're going to be stretching it out for months and months and months and either be forced to do it on TV or just really string it out for a long time or hold it off. But you want to we got sweeps coming up, right? We're coming into the fall season. They're going to want to spice the ratings up again. Negotiations are going to start for the next TV deal. All of this shit, it's keyed up perfect to have the biggest feud happening now and the biggest run happening now. And, you know, when MJF comes back and he wins the title and he's given a live microphone, TV is going to be gold, man. And he's going to pop the business for AEW, and I hope he gets a nice big fat paycheck for it. So that's what's going on there. But what doesn't fit into that picture? Hangman Page. Unless Moxley beats Punk and then it becomes Moxley MJF and then Punk goes on to face the Hangman at All Out. That's certainly a possibility too, because now we got heat, right? Now we got the internet buzzing. Now we're in a position where Hangman versus Punk is a match that we want to see again, and we want to see some promos, and we want to see some real life shots being thrown. We want to see where this goes. The purpose of the MJF rant was all of that to say is that I believe it to be a work. So Tony Khan has already proven that I think he's willing to work the boys, quote unquote, work the locker room for the purpose of storyline, because they leak shit, and you know, we've all heard that they were really quiet and secretive and respectful for Brody Lee when he was sick, but that was a man who was sick in real life. You know, it's not the same as, oh yeah, the MJF thing's just a work, or yeah, Punk and Hangman, that's just a work. You know, like, nobody's going to feel bad or lose sleep at night for letting that slip to Sean Ross Sapp over at Fightful or fucking something like that, right? So Tony Khan's going to keep that close to the vest, and there's nothing wrong with that. I've seen people say, you don't work the boys or whatever. You work the boys because we're in an internet era where everything leaks. So if you really want to do huge business and really stir up the internet and the speculation, like look at this MJF situation. People don't know for sure if it's real. I'm only speculating. Nobody's ever reported on saying, yeah, it's all a work. We have, inside source that says it's all bullshit. You don't have that. And we don't have that with Punk either. And, Punk is... I think, he's part of that MJF story. He came down, when MJF cut his promo. Remember, Punk was limping down to the ring, like, what the fuck, bro? I think Punk has proven that he likes to do his storylines in a bit of kayfabe, right? Like, he likes to inject that realism, and everybody thinks that Punk's a locker room cancer or a fucking politician or just a complainer or a douchebag at the least. Why not lean into that and start something? The only thing that goes against that is just why Hangman. If everything seems to be leading to first Moxley and then MJF for Punk, what's the point of even bringing Hangman into it at this point, unless they're going to work together. And it's, that's the only reason that you would do a worked shoot like this. So, but I don't want to rule it out as a possibility. But, just to kind of put a bow on this, I do take everything with a grain of salt because I do think AEW, especially Tony Khan and CM Punk, are absolutely willing to lean into kayfabing the boys and working shoots and making things look real or look bigger than they actually are. I think Tony's smart enough and a big enough fan to know that those kind of angles are hot, especially if you can get the internet buzzing and get people believing it. But at the same time, like, why? If MJF's coming back, if he's going to feud with Punk, there's really no reason to stir shit up with Hangman. So if the case is that this is a shoot, Punk's being a piece of shit right now, and that hurts to say as one of his biggest fanboys. Just waiting for that fucking expensive ass action figure with its ice cream bar to come in the mail. And I don't want to have to, sell it in a garage sale because Punk let me down by being a douchebag. But so it hurts to say, but that's certainly a possibility. And we're going to monitor this and keep an eye on it. But I had to throw in my 2 cents. And that's just where we're at with this thing. And we'll see how it plays out. Hey, thanks for checking out that clip. Don't forget to check out other clips here on the channel. And while you're there, throw a like, throw a subscribe. And don't forget to check out full episodes each and every Sunday of the Pro Wrestling Podcast.